What's happening, niche website builders?
You're right.
There you go. I feel like I've got I just made that up on the fly. I feel like I've got like a saying now to say when the stream starts. So, hello.
Proper streamer now.
Cool. Welcome everybody back to the show. Good to see lots of familiar faces familiar names in the chat. Speaking of faces, though, we are thinking of bringing some people into the show from time to time. We've got like a link that we can share for people to kind of join us. So we're thinking of kind of not only making it interactive through chat, but if anything's got anything to add or anything to say, or anything worth you jumping on.
Just want to get your face on the stream, yeah.
Get your face on the stream as well. So that's something we've got planned. We'll probably just do it at some point. Yeah. So yeah, as I say, welcome to the show. Today, it's going to be part one of a 3-part series. This one, it's called Buy versus Build is the series. And today is, can you flip your way to a profit? So I guess we want to talk about like kind of the relative merits of different ways that you can work with your website investment portfolio, essentially. So one way is to buy sites, acquire sites, grow sites, sell them on quickly once you kind of made some improvements, or even not so quickly, right? Maybe buy them, work on them for a year, sell them again, versus kind of building from scratch and kind of how that looks in terms of profitabilities, the advantages and disadvantages of both, and that kind of thing. So today we're going to talk about flipping. Next week, we're going to talk about flopping. No, we're not. We're going to talk about buying. I just did a dad joke. Oh, no. We're going to talk about flipping. So next week, not buying. We're going to talk about building. And then part 3 is going to be like a summary of all of that and talking about the merits and downfalls, positives, negatives of both. So that's the plan for the 3-part series. If you've got any questions at any point, stick them into the chat because we will get to them. Good to put them in early, and then we can kind of start saving them off, and then we just try and pick them up as we go along, or when there's a nice gap in the stream. So feel free to ask questions as we go.
It's cool to hear other people's stories as well, as we talk about our own experiences of buying, flipping, building, selling, good and bad, positive and negative of everything, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, share that in the chat as well if you've got anything to kind of add. I don't know, we might try and wing it and try and get you on the stream as well at the same time. I think actually that's going to be quite difficult because then I have to do a private chat, but we'll work that out. We'll work that out if we have to. Okay, so as before, if you're new around here, don't forget to subscribe and like for more of the same content. And I guess Adam, I'll kind of let you kind of kick off. So you're going to kind of lead the flipping one. And I'm going to lead the building one.
Yeah, I think I would probably should start off by just saying there's no right or wrong way to make money on through websites. There's different models and different kind of, and you don't even have to stick to one. Like for a long time, I was building sites and doing it that way. And now currently, my whole investment strategy revolves around, or not my whole, but a big chunk of my investment strategy that I'm actively involved in. I've still got my portfolio of websites to sit there and generate kind of income that I don't plan on flipping, and my core kind of revenue generating sites. But around that core, I'm also quite active in terms of buying, improving, and then flipping websites. I guess we'll kind of talk about why I've built my kind of personal portfolio around that. And then next week, we'll talk about why Mark has built his personal portfolio around the other way of building and holding, mostly. I mean, I've done it this way mainly because over the years, I've kind of developed just a skill set of different tools like a bag of tools I can reach into when I buy a website, and I can typically get some quick wins out. I'll go through some examples in a bit of what those quick wins are and kind of some of the results I've had around, I've got 2 examples of sites that I bought and flipped, which I don't mind kind of going into some detail with. Before I get into that, I probably could just outline what my whole investment strategy looks like. Because before you even come into flipping websites, you need to figure out what are you going to buy and why are you going to buy it and what do the quick wins look like in order to make some profit. There's no point if your whole strategy is going to be around buying and flipping. There's no point buying a website and then just hoping that the revenue is going to increase or the traffic's going to go up. You've got to have a solid plan in place to do that. And over the last 2 years, my method is, or the sites that I look for typically has changed to what I look for today. And typically today, my go-to for websites I want to flip is typically display ads, mostly US traffic. So it's got to be almost all US traffic. Under monetized, and by that I mean ideally will be monetized either with just AdSense, or it might be on an ad network, but they don't have a ton of placements, or the theme isn't great and they don't have a sidebar, so there's no sticky advert in the sidebar, or anything basically that makes it look under monetized. And I'd even consider websites that have a high percentage of informational content and they make a little bit of money through through affiliate revenue. I bought one recently that was, most of the traffic came to his informational pages. It was making about $400-$500, I think, a month on just affiliate, just on Amazon, and they didn't have display ads on there. And to me, that's quick win. Just buy that, put display ads on there. So I look for like under monetized kind of websites, and then really I'm looking to buy right as well. The multiples at the moment when you buy in are going up and up, and if you can negotiate yourself a good price to buy, you can do that in a number of different ways. You can do that by showing that you've done this lots of times before, and if the person who's selling is relatively new, then you can hold their hand and you can handle all of the migration and all the tech stuff. And for some people, if they're relatively new and they're selling a site, it's the first time they've sold a site, that might be a stumbling block for them. They might be worried about that. Or if you can move quickly, if you can close the deal quick, I can typically do due diligence on a website within 24 hours and then buy the site within another 24 hours. That's another incentive. If someone's short of cash or needs money quickly, then you can close deals that way. It's kind of it, really, I think. I talked for a long time there. I'm sorry, Mark.
No.
Hold on for a bit.
That's all right. Yeah. So, I mean, have you got other examples of kind of other, how when you're looking for stuff that's under monetized?
Yeah.
To what depth do you go with that? Like, what kind of things what's in that list? I guess it's different from site to site, right? I suppose as well, but
it is, yeah. But I've got a couple of examples. So, like the ad network one is easy. So, which ad network is it on? Is it on AdSense? Can you switch it to Ezoic? That's going to be one of the kind of examples I run through. But another one I bought was split evenly between affiliate revenue and Ezoic, and it was optimized. The display ads was very well optimized, but the quick win for me was the affiliate content. There was no table at the top, and there was no buttons. There was no call to action button. It was just a text link which said check price on Amazon. So I quickly went in and swapped those out for actual big buttons. In this case, it was red, contrasting colors to the rest of the website theme. Added a little table at the top, which reviewed the top 3 products. And my uplift there was essentially an increase in conversion or click-through rate from the affiliate revenue rather than on the display ad. So really, it's different for every site. You just have to have an open mind when you look at different sites. And this is, I think, where experience comes in. I don't think you should be flipping websites if you're inexperienced in this game, I think it's good if you've got experience, if you've seen lots of websites, if you've tested lots of, does adding a button here increase click-through rate? Does adding a placeholder here increase display ad revenue, etc.? Like, you need to have that base knowledge before you can really kind of get into flipping, I personally think.
Yeah. And what about, I mean, I guess it all comes together, right? But there's other things you can think about, like, are the posts particularly short? If they're particularly short, you might want to extend the length of them to increase your, the ad revenue you can get from specific pages. There's that stuff that we talked about recently on one of the streams, which was like all of the ways that you can improve ad revenue. But I guess if like you said, the sidebar, you already mentioned not having a sidebar, but but again, text size and all that kind of stuff. What about like beyond that? Like, what about have you ever considered like, this one I could potentially move into I could create a YouTube channel for this, or a community around this, or a course, or is that kind of doesn't really fit with your strategy because they're kind of longer term goals and they're not really, for flipping? Like, what's your thought about that?
Yeah, you're right. I've definitely acquired websites to merge into other websites. So, with the goal of flipping both of them quite quickly. So if I've already got an existing website that's going through that kind of growth, and another one comes up for sale, and the content doesn't overlap very well, and it's doing all right, then I would definitely buy a site to merge. But no, it doesn't fit with two things. It doesn't fit with my time horizon of wanting to get out of these sites typically, within a 12-month or before, ideally. Like, it doesn't fit within that time scale, and it also doesn't play to my strengths. I've never really created a course apart from the Niche Website Builders community. I've never really built a community. Like, I don't think I would have the skill set to do that quickly in a niche I know nothing about, typically, because these sites that I buy are in niches I typically don't know anything about or are particularly passionate about building a community around either.
But that's something you could outsource as well. Like, you course some course creation or even community building, right? I guess as well.
Yes, you've got a great way of automating your community building for your websites.
Yeah, it's kind of semi-automated. Yeah, I guess so. One of my favorite ways to do it is through Facebook groups. Like, I love Facebook groups because they're pretty much they're not so tampered with by Facebook as like a Facebook page. A Facebook page, they want you to use paid ads, so they limit how many people actually see your post. So even if you've got 1,000 people following, only a very small percentage of them will ever see anything you post on the Facebook page. So Facebook pages just aren't good generally. But Facebook groups, somebody's part of a group, there's a good chance that they're going to see the post that you post up if they're around at that time. So I love Facebook groups for building community. I tend to, once my site starts getting traffic, I will add just a simple bar at the top. I tend to do. There's a little bar that kind of pops in above the menu, and it says, join our new Facebook group with a button, just a click, just a button that takes them through to the Facebook page where they can just go and join it. So that's like really low tech kind of way of doing it. But it's not intrusive as well. It's not like a pop up, but it's just there on every page, and the way it slides in kind of draws your attention to it. If people are into that stuff, then they'll go and join it. That's one good thing. And then I use a plugin, a Chrome browser plugin or add-on called Extension. That's the one called Group Leads. And Group Leads is awesome. So it essentially allows you to hook it up to your email marketing tools. I mean, they can't. I can't see how this is like good for them, but they constantly keep adding new email marketing tools. Like, they must have, I don't know, 80 different email marketing tools now.
When you say email marketing tools, you mean like MailChimp and ConvertKit?
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
Yeah. MailChimp, ConvertKit, ActiveCampaign, all that kind of stuff. And they just keep adding new ones. Like, they're getting more and more obscure. Like, and I'm thinking, how many users are actually using that are going to want to use Group Leads? But they just keep adding new ones all the time. I don't know. It must be hard for them to actually find new ones now. And just the overhead of like supporting all those must be a pain. But they're doing it. So they started with all the big ones first, like MailChimp and things like that. But essentially, what the extension does is that it runs over the top of your Facebook page. So when you are approving people's accepting them into the groups, it scans the questions that you've asked. So if one of the questions I always ask is, if you're interested in content around X niche, I'm looking to start like producing more stuff, like just drop your email in here. And a good percentage of the time, I'd say, if you word it in a nice way, good percentage of the time, I'd say like just broadly like 40% of the time, someone will drop their email address in as well. And then this Group Leads extension, when you accept them into the thing, like basically the accept button is normally blue. It goes to red to say that the Group Leads extension is activated on that page. And then you press the button. It then automatically scans all the answers to the questions. If there's any email addresses in those answers, it sticks it into your email marketing tool. So you're building your mailing list. So without Group Leads, what you'd have to do is copy and paste that email out and paste it into your just a bit of more friction. It's just a pain. And I used to do that actually before I found Group Leads. So So now it automatically adds. So I'm building my mailing list and I'm building my Facebook group as well. So I've got a double thing. And I tend to do that quite early on, and then I just leave it for a bit. I don't tend to put too much on there. I probably should do a little bit more, but once the community starts to grow, it kind of it works. It starts to do itself a little bit. But the mailing list, I should probably mail out something from time to time just to get some engagement, because you don't want to really let it go dead. But I do figure these people have expressed interest in this topic. The chances are they're going to be interested down the road as well. So I'm just saving it for whatever I want to do with that site down the road. Like, because I have a more long-term view, it's like, how do I feel like, how can I monetize this down the road? Whether that's a YouTube channel or a course or e-commerce or making it a business in its own right in some way. Like, I'm just building that list and that community to do that like further down the road. So yeah.
Yeah, I should probably do that on my longer term sites, to be honest. There's no reason why I don't do that. Because I pay a higher multiple for sites that have assets. I've bought sites in come with a YouTube channel, and I've paid a higher multiple for it. So I don't know. I guess it's time and the fear, because I've never set that up before. It's the fear of just figuring out the first time, I guess. It's not hard, I don't think, but yeah.
It's not hard. Yeah, I have the same fear about like buying and selling sites. It's like, I can't be bothered with all of the migration and all the stuff that goes into that, whereas you just do it every week. So I just to give you an idea, I've got one of the sites I've mentioned quite a lot on our podcast and on our YouTube channel is the site that I've taken to about 300,000 sessions or 350,000 sessions now in a year. And I put all this on about 5 months ago. I've already got 730 members on the Facebook group now, and nice. There's a few more waiting today. So there's another 7 waiting today as well. And the mailing list is probably, I don't know, I haven't looked for a little while, 350, 400 people. So it's building nicely in like sort of five months or so. So just going to leave that kind of keep going.
I feel that's a way better way to build your email list than a PDF downloadable kind of opt-in, like the old school. Plus, you don't get a Facebook group either. So
I've done that before as well, and you get the conversion rate is so low.
Yeah.
Whereas actually, this is you get exactly. You double whammying, aren't you? You get the Facebook group and the email marketing. So I love it. I love that.
Nice.
So, question for you on your flipping then. So, if you've probably answered this, I think, but I mean, do you have a in mind either when before you buy or at least when you're holding it, that you have okay, this is a very short term one. I'm looking for this one to be done and dusted in 2 months. I'm looking for that. I've got a midterm view, which is like a 12-month, and then I've got like a long-term hold, which is beyond that. Do you have that? Do you have that in mind when you buy it, or typically evolve? Like, how do you think about that?
Yeah, typically. Although I steer away from the very short-term hold ones now, because that we'll talk about. I think it's great talking about successes, but I'll talk about one of the losses that I had when I bought the site that didn't quite fit my criteria, and then got hit in the Google update literally 2 weeks later. And I bought it for the wrong reasons. I bought it for a very short time period, supposedly. So I do have that. Sometimes though, they kind of merge. So I'll buy a site thinking I'm going to flip it. I bought a site thinking it's just going to be a short-term flip. I managed to buy it. It was under monetized. And then to my surprise, when I moved it over to Ezoic, the EMVP is over $100 in this specific niche. I'm like, what is this? Yeah. What magic is this? Why? I'm not selling this site. This becomes now part of my long-term portfolio because it's in a space that you can continue to grow, and it's evergreen. I'm like, I'm never going to sell that site now. But it started off as being like a kind of a 12-month or less than 12-month flip at that point. So you kind of go into it with a plan, but I think, as Mike Tyson says, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face, right? So all the best plans just change very quickly once you actually get the site and see what happens and start playing with it.
Yeah. But the strategy is still the same. You don't say, for a short term, I'm going to do these X things. For the midterm, I'm going to maybe do these different extra things. Like, is it pretty much the same strategy for all? It's just that fancy the niche longer, or you believe in the site for a longer period? Like, what is
The
that?
strategy is definitely different if I'm keeping a site long term than if I'm keeping it just for flip. So if I'm keeping it to flip, then I typically won't add a lot of content, a ton of content. It'll be updating the existing content on the website, adding FAQs, going through the top 20% of the pages. I've talked about this so many times. The top 20% of the pages that drive 80% of the traffic. Like, I'll optimize those pages, and if that means rewriting some of the content or adding FAQs, like, that's the kind of content strategy if I'm on the short-term ones. But on my long-term sites, I mean, I'm always adding content monthly. It's especially for sites like that one with the high MVP. Like, there's only two things to grow a site: link building and content. So you have to do both, and I do both for my long-term strategy, for my long-term sites. But the short-term sites, no, I'm looking for quick win levers I can pull, and
And that might be different from site to site. But
yeah, totally.
Yeah. I mean, you had a site recently, you would just switch from AdSense to Azoic, right? Which had a big impact, like an AdSense site.
Yep. That's one of the examples that I've got, actually, which we can talk about. I talked about it on, I think, Doug's podcast recently. So if you want to hear like the full story of everything I did for that, then Doug Cunnington's got a podcast on that. We did it on a stream recently as well, didn't we? We went through all the different kind of levers we pulled.
We did, how to increase your ad revenue,
yeah. So it's that site. That's the site where was the main change was moving from AdSense to Ezoic.
Yeah. Awesome. I did have another question, but like we can hold that. Like, so have you got some examples then that you want to?
Yeah. So that one is a great example. That the one I talked there. Bought it for around $60,000 there or thereabouts. So I bought it for $60,000. The average revenue per month was around $1,700 per month when I bought it. And since then, I did all the quick wins that we talked about in the other stream, where I changed the display ad network, increased the font size, added images, added more kind of room for placeholders, basically. And then that had a dramatic increase on revenue. The revenue went up to average 3,300 for the last 6 months. I've held it. So I've held it for 6 months. And now it's the time where I'm looking to get rid of it now. I've now got 6 months average worth of revenue data for it. And I'm looking to flip that now. And that value is probably worth like over 100,000 now. So it's probably more than doubled. I probably more than doubled my money by the time I factor in the monthly revenue that it's made since I've held it in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
Which is good going for 6 months worth of work. Well, 6 months holding, but really it was about 5 days worth of work.
Yeah.
They were quick wins.
Yeah, definitely. And that's just, like you say, just some experience in identifying those for sure.
Yeah.
Just one thing we forgot to mention: merch giveaway again today. So get 25 likes on the stream, then we'll spin the wheel for some merch giveaway. So we had some happy customers yesterday for that. Last week we said that the H domain one didn't make it, right, and the website investing one made it easily, and we were fine. Less people on the stream today for the website investing, so you never know. It might be the other way around, because the H domain one clearly made it. So there you go. So Bill's impressed by your work.
Well, I'll talk about some of the negatives, because it doesn't always work out like that, Bill, unfortunately. And I think I was looking prior to come on the stream, and over the last 12 months, I've bought and sold 10 different sites. Still got some of them. So it's been almost one a month, essentially, for the last 12 months. But overall, like in total, excluding the revenue the websites make, so just in value, if I was to liquidate all the sites I still have, I've doubled my money basically from those 10 sites. So even though some turn out to be winners, great winners like this one we just talked about, there are some which turn out to be losers. And I'll talk about a nearly loser, and then I'll talk about an actual loser. So going back last year, when Amazon changed their rates, their commission structure, I was actually midway through purchasing the site. The money was in escrow, and Amazon changed their commission, and it was almost a 6-figure purchase as well. So it wasn't even a small site. It was one of the a very big site really. And yeah, the money was there. We were midway through the migration of the website. I already had possession of the domain. Amazon announced their rate cut, and when I did the maths quickly, I was like, oh my god, this site is now worth about 60% of what it was yesterday, like before they announced. And I'm stuck now with money in escrow and halfway through migration. And I was panicking, like proper panicking. Am I going to be left holding the bag here? But luckily, the seller was, they were open and they said, it's okay, like we understand, send us the domain back, we'll cancel. And I was just left with a ton of transaction fees from escrow where I'd sent the money and then had to cancel it and get it back. Yeah. And I think it cost me like $1,500 or whatever in total between the conversion fees and stuff. But yeah, it could have been, that very easily could have been probably I think about a $40,000 loss overnight, like instantly.
Yeah.
And then another one, which is a loss. It's still in my portfolio. It is still currently a loss. I haven't realized the loss yet because I can't quite stomach it. But it was outside my normal kind of area of what I would look for. It was a website that was only monetized through affiliate revenue, which is not a problem if it has a healthy split of content between commercial and informational. This I didn't. But even though it didn't, it was growing at a very, very steady pace. And in this case, I think a bit of greed took over. I saw that the site was growing very quickly. And I thought if I managed to negotiate that I would buy in on I can't remember if it was an 8 or a 12-month multiple, which way undervalued it if you were to try and sell it on a 3 or a 6 month at its current rate. And I thought I'm going to buy it, literally hold it for 2 or 3 months, and then I'll have a much different average revenue. And I'm going to flip it on straight away. It was never part of the plan. I didn't even plan to do any work on it. I didn't want to touch it. I just want to hold it and get rid of it. And about 2 weeks after I sent the money, literally 2 weeks, Google update happened where they started targeting websites that have, I think, a higher amount of commercial content and the site. So on that side, I paid $36,000 or $38,000 for it, and then just got smashed in the update. It currently makes about $300 a month, so it's probably worth like $9,000 or $10,000. So I've lost 2/3 of my money on that site because it was out. And it is a great lesson because it was outside of what I would normally do. It was outside of my investment kind of criteria and strategy. And now anytime is a painful lesson, but anytime I even remotely consider buying a website that doesn't meet my criteria, I'm like, just remember what happened. Like, don't do it. You're gonna lose money on it or something.
All I can remember from that whole story is you bought a website on an 8 or 12 multiplier. Like,
no, sorry, 8. I can't remember if it was 8 or 12 months average revenue.
Oh,
so it was still a normal multiple.
Yeah.
But it was on like the longer term of the average. And I was just thinking, I'll keep it for literally a couple of months. And the average, because it was growing so quick, the average would be so much higher that I would make a quick back off it, basically.
So was it, how new a site was it? Was it a very new site?
No. There was a couple of red flags with it, really. So it wasn't just the content. It was also a multi-niche website. So it wasn't specifically about one topic. Had a little bit of pets in there, a little bit of home, a little bit of DIY. Oh, I know it gets worse the more I talk about it, but
so you're blaming it being all affiliate revenue. Like, well, it sounds like it could have been other things as well.
Could have been, yeah. It could have been a multitude of things. They were, yeah. Looking back now and looking at the way that I invest, like currently, there's so many different red flags in there that I wouldn't have even considered giving it a second look at the moment if I was doing it again now. But yeah, you live and learn, right? I was blinded by a quick profit, I think, to be honest, more than anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. So the question I had for you, I remembered now. You know the site that you've got with the larger EMPV, the one that's got like $100 plus. So you added some other pages to it now. Have you managed to retain that EMPV on those new page as well, because there's page level EPMV, isn't there? And like average across the site as well. Like those new pages, you managed to retain that as well.
Yeah, and I'm definitely not going to give away the niche of the site, but it's extremely surprising for what the site covers. Like if I was just doing research and thinking what is a high paying niche, this would be the bottom of the list I would ever think about, which is even more surprising. So yeah.
Do you think that's because it's maybe got bunged in with like a category that almost probably it doesn't deserve to be in that category, and like, yeah,
potentially. I think some people have asked this before, and I've been meaning to ask Tyler from Ezoic, because I'm not sure if it's the content that drives the high EMVP, or if it's the user, or if it's a mixture of both. So I don't know. I don't know why. Yeah. It's almost an anomaly. I don't want to poke it too much. I don't want to ask Ezoic, or just in case they say, "Oh, hold on, so this was a mistake all along."
Oh yeah, just don't put it on a video or anything. Don't tell anyone.
Yeah, no.
No, I'm sure. Yeah, no, I'm sure that wouldn't happen. I'm just sure that whatever. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. Maybe I suppose they have the algorithm which tries to work out which sites. But I mean, it's definitely. I'm almost certain. I'm certain it's to do with the niche, but whether the user's got to have some impact in that as well, I'd imagine. But we should find that out, and like we can probably something we can talk about probably in a stream or get Tyler to talk about. Yeah, we've talked about that. Not quite sure exactly how EPMB is determined, but it definitely varies from niche to niche, and you can almost kind of guess like some of the niches that are going to be higher than others. So
the other thing that's interesting about that site as well is I'm just gonna look back through my data, is that it was quite seasonal. Like it's got a bit of seasonal content, not a lot, but the seasonal content ranks very well around Christmas time. And yeah, this site I've probably more than tripled my money on, because when I bought it and I saw in the analytics and the revenue data that it had a spike up around Christmas time, I managed to say to the seller, like, there's no guarantee that those rankings are going to be there next year. And we discounted the months of November and December.
Yeah.
And then this year came around and I've been growing the site, and ad rates are just higher this year than they were last year. Like last December, the site, when I didn't own it, the site made 1,800. This December, when I owned it, the site made 7,600, like a 7 times increase.
Wow.
And traffic to those pages didn't go up tremendously, but ad rates this year, for some reason, on those pages was just incredible. Some days north of $200 EMVP.
That's weird, because I do know what the niche is, and that just does not make sense.
Well, I'll tell you afterwards, because it would make sense when you look at what pages they are. But
okay.
But again, even that content feels like it shouldn't be on that site. I don't know. It's a strange site. I don't know. It's just a weird site. I can't explain lots of things with it. I can't explain why that would work around Christmas time. I can't explain the high. But because of those things, it's in my long-term portfolio. I wouldn't flip. That's one I wouldn't flip now.
Cool. So you're managing with this new content. You're managing. I mean, because I'm guessing with that high PMV, you don't need a lot of traffic to make a decent income from it. So you managed to grow the traffic at the moment, are you, on that as well?
Yes. So still growing, actually. Just have a quick look. I might be a little bit skewed because of a. Oh, actually, no, it's not. So this month's been flat. It's like down 1.8% this month versus last month. But if you look at on analytics on the long term, it's definitely growing up. But it's skewed because November and December are just that big peaks and troughs. Then.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Have you got any more examples you want to share before? We've got some questions from before the show in advance, but if anybody else got any other questions, feel free to ask away. If you've got any questions for Adam and his portfolio and like some of the stuff that he's done for flipping, now's the time. But yeah, have you got any other examples?
I mean, all the other examples are fairly the same, really. is it it's a bit of a boring journey because I look for very similar sites. So no, I don't have any other bad examples of sites where I've lost a ton of money on. I could probably walk through some of the good sites, but it's just boring. It just feels like I've got nothing new to give apart from just saying the
especially without
numbers.
revealing them and like what they are and stuff.
No.
It's a bit, a bit dull.
Scott's got a question, which I think is interesting, is how do I find these sites? And the answer is lots of places. The places you would think initially, so the marketplaces. I've set my preferences up on Flipper. It takes quite a bit of work to set them up right because there's a lot of rubbish on there you need to filter out. But I probably spend, I don't know, 4 hours, 5 hours a week on Flipper, just looking at the new listings that come up. Motion Invest. I bought a couple of sites off Motion Invest recently. I tried to buy one through Investors Club recently, but that didn't work. Basically, they've got their own escrow account in the US, and I sent my money there from I'm in the UK, obviously from the UK bank, so I never trust myself entering international details on the app. So I always go into the branch with my bit of paper that they send with the PDF with the details, and they sent it for me, and then everything was fine. And then they said it would take like 2 days, 3, 4, 5, 6 days later, they still received the money. And I started to panic. And then the buyer, the seller of the site started questioning, did you really send it? And I'm like, yeah, I've got my receipt. Like, here's the printer from the bank. And this went on for over a week until like Investors Club, basically, we've not received it. And my bank said they've sent it. And this money was just missing in the ethos somewhere. And the deal fell apart. The seller basically said, like, I'm not waiting around anymore. If you can't send the money, then you can't buy the site. I was like, well, I'm stuck because I do want the site, but my money's missing somewhere. And in the end, they never received it. My bank had to do a retrace, and I ended up losing again like another 1,500 quid on bank fees and transfers and interest rate exchanges, and the whole deal.
Did the currency change? Did the currency exchange rate change as well?
Yeah, but also, you know what banks are like, right? You send money in GBP, and then to transfer it back, they always overcharge you on the conversion rate back. And I just felt like I just got fully ripped off by my bank and the other bank, whatever other bank actually received the money and sent it back.
So what happened to the site? Did you still want to buy it at that point, or?
No, I didn't, to be honest. It got to the point where the relationship with the seller broke down a bit. He was just basically saying, like, you've not sent the money. You've not, where's the money? And I'm like, I've sent it. And in the end, I just said, I don't want to deal with this anymore. Like, we're just going to call it off, basically. So there's those places, Scott, the marketplaces. The other places are, on our Facebook groups. There's lots of rubbish in the Facebook groups, if I'm being honest, across the different groups out there. But there are genuine people in there. There are hidden gems in there, and I've bought and sold from the groups. When you're selling, there's a lot of tire kickers. Like, you've got to be prepared to kiss a lot of frogs to find your one prince of a genuine buyer in there. But there's still good resources, I think. And then the other place where I've only had success once, and it's hard work, but if you can do it, the payout is usually really good. Is just manual outreach, looking for websites. And if you can find websites like this one I'm going to put in the chat, then this is the kind of website that I would typically try and reach out to during like manual outreach. I've just popped in the chat. It's called beartracker.com. If you can find a website like that, that's no money. It's not monetized. Last time I checked on SEMrush, was getting 70 to 80,000 visits a month. No monetization. Looks like it's from 2020. If you could buy that and move it over to WordPress and add monetization and get it for a really cheap price, because clearly nobody's done anything with it for the last 15 years. They might be open to selling it. That's a home run. But I've probably sent over 100 outreach messages, had replies from maybe 5, and bought one site in 12 months. It's hard work.
So not 100 outreach emails to this guy, right?
No, not to this one guy. And the other thing, so even though I did buy a site through this, the one thing that I did find on it was, or at least in my small sample size of buying one site, it's they valued the site like a lot higher than someone who's motivated to sell. Like I went to them as someone looking to buy. They weren't, it wasn't. They weren't motivated to sell, should we say? So I paid them a higher price than I typically would, higher multiple than I typically would. Just to, at that point, I felt like I'd done so much work. I bought it anyway. But yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right, so we've got a few more questions popping in now. This one from Jeremy.
Yeah, so it's a good question. How do you handle the site migration? Do you ever share your hosting details? Do you take care of it yourself? So my personal hosting is with WPX hosting, and they've got a free migration option. So you can do it a couple of ways. You can ask the seller to send you a backup of the website and send the backup to WPX. You can ask them for FTP access and give those details to WPX. Or worst case scenario, if the buyer is a new person and they don't know how to do either of those, you can literally just send login details, admin login details for the website to WPX, and they'll migrate it over. So very rarely do I get involved in the technicalities of migration. But if your hosting doesn't do that, then there's plugins like Updraft which allow you to do that. But I think most like mainstream hosting platforms these days offer some kind of free migration. So take them up on it. Like, yeah.
If you're on Cloudbase as well, I'd say they've got an awesome plugin that just works every time. I've used lots of these plugins and loads of them are just not that good, but the Cloudbase one is just awesome. You install it on the site that you want to migrate, and you set up the hosting on Cloudbase, and you just literally put in a couple of the server details about the server, press go, and it's just there. It just like a few minutes later, or it depends how big the site is. A while later, it just appears on your hosting, and it's just brilliant. If you're on Cloudbase,
I think lots of people. I think SiteGround have something similar, like a SiteGround site migration plugin. Most of them will have.
I've used theirs before, and it doesn't work. I've had failures on that. Yeah,
fair enough.
That's SiteGround for you. Okay. Oh yeah, good question. This is something you would do, Adam?
I didn't actually. I think at that point. So just to kind of go on from that, it took me around 5 weeks to get my money back. It wasn't a small amount of money. Like I was panicking, and by the time I'd had this back, I just wanted to forget all about that one site. So no, I didn't even track this one. I could probably go back through on my messages and bids on Investors Club and have a little look. Might be worth me doing actually. But then if I look and I missed out on a good one, then I'll probably feel even more rubbish that I didn't get this. I don't know, better the devil you know or not.
I feel like if we get to 25 likes and I'm sort of sorting out the draw, you need to go and have a quick look on Attribution in a minute.
All right.
If we get time.
Okay.
So Cameron's made a suggestion. I think maybe they've got a YouTube channel. You might be able to get through to them on there if you haven't tried that already.
No, I haven't. I can't even see. I can't see the YouTube link on there, but maybe I'll have a good look later.
So Vaughn, I mean, this is kind of what this page, this whole stream and everything we do is about, right? Like, is it profitable to flip? I mean, I think if you've been listening to the stream so far, you probably worked out it probably is. Like websites aren't going away. YouTube isn't going to replace every website on the planet. So absolutely still space, but YouTube is fantastic as well. It's not beat around the bush. That's great, but you still get the numbers, right? So if you want to we talked about it with Alex yesterday about monetizing through his ad revenue. He's got about 60,000 subscribers and he makes $1,000 a month. So, and he's been working on that for years. So that's going to take a while to get up. Of course, you can do other affiliate stuff and things. Affiliate offers and things. Once you've got a following, you can kind of do all sorts of stuff. But there's value. There's not one or the other. Okay, I feel like we should get to there is a few other questions here which I will save off.
I was just going to say, while you get those right, should I just really quickly go through the other ones in there? Because, well, I guess there's only one really, just this one, because this one's quite quick and easy. So when you're buying a site, what contract you sign? If I've bought the site outside of a marketplace through private deal flow or through one of the Facebook groups, I don't sign a contract. I use escrow.com as the middleman to add safety to the both sides, but I don't. But when I bought through platforms, they usually make you sign. I can't remember what the name of the contract is. The two-party sign it basically. It's not a letter of intent. It's the other one.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, while you do that, I'll have a quick look to see what it's actually called.
Cool. Yeah, I was just going to go grab the questions from the pre-questions. Just quickly on Ravi's one here. For beginners, would you recommend buy or build a new website? So stay tuned for part 3 of this series when we're going to cover like the pros, cons, the what you need for each. A simple example, you can't buy unless you've got money to invest in it. So you're going to have to build to start with, as an example. So next week we're going to talk about building, and a week after we're going to talk about like all pitfalls and the pros and cons of each of those. So if you tune in for part 3, we're probably going to cover off a lot of stuff, which you'll probably be able to work out which camp you fit in for that.
It's asset purchase agreement. That's what it's called.
Okay. We've got Keith. We'll do Keith in a bit. Welcome, Keith. But there's a bunch of questions from Rick. A couple of questions from Rick from before the show, so make sure we do those because he took the effort to put them in advance, to send them in advance. So perhaps you've already covered these. Let's not do that. We don't need that one. When flipping websites, what are the preferred platforms for transactions? So spoke about this on recently, right?
We did, yeah. If you want more detailed information, Rick, because we went through the exclusivity periods for them, the fees as well for each of the different platforms on our stream last week. So go back and have a look. But I think there's there's a handful of main ones. There's Flipper, Empire Flippers, Motion Invest, Investors Club, FE International. Selling them privately. I always try and sell a website privately first, so I don't have to pay broker fees, and I'm also not tied into any exclusivity. So, but I think I'm in that case I'm luckier than most in that I've got a kind of a reputation, I guess, in our small space, and also we do things like this where if I put a website up for sale, again I might get more interest than somebody else, Sure.
And are some better for the buyer than the seller? Well,
yeah, I mean, kind of. They're all slightly different, right? Like if you've got a really big website to sell, then you definitely want to use a broker, I think, mainly because not for anything else really, apart from access to their black book of contacts of people who have, they put it out to their list, and they've got a list of hungry buyers who have that kind of capital if it's a big website. On big websites as well, there's probably more due diligence to be done, and they can help with that, and there's more questions and they can help with that, and the negotiation probably isn't just as simple as 35x or 36x, like meet in the middle kind of thing. So they can probably help with that. So if it's a bigger site, then I definitely see the merits of a broker.
And I guess generally for the buyer, it's like there's no hit, is there? It's the seller that takes the hit on the commission. So yeah, they're all pretty much the same for the buyer, apart from I guess some of
the only thing they
go ahead.
The only thing as a buyer though, I do feel you get a better deal buying outside of. Typically, you can get a better deal buying outside of platforms. I also feel pressured sometimes when I'm buying from a platform or buying from a marketplace, because I know they've just sent it out to their email list and there might be 5 other people looking at it. And I feel pressurized to make an offer. So, like for example, on Motion Invest, the last 2 sites I bought from them at the listing price. I didn't even make an offer because I thought they were good and I thought they would get snapped up really quick. Yeah. Whether they would or not, I don't know, but I felt pressured into doing that.
Yeah. Cool. Does the price range
cover that?
Yeah. I think that's it. Yeah. What are the higher ticket sites? Yeah, I think we've covered all of that. I think so. Yeah, go back to last week's show, Rick, website investing show. This time last Thursday on our channel, and we covered a lot of that stuff there. Okay, Keith.
Yeah, when buying a website, they say the money's made on the buy. So what's your typical multiple you initially offer? It depends, Keith, to be honest. I definitely think buying smart is good. I mean, I don't really lowball people. I give what I think is a fair offer. And usually I don't kind of I won't deviate much from my initial offer. Like I won't go back and forth tons of times, but I'll make it clear up front that like I feel like I'm going to make a fair offer, and I won't just send like a multiple. I'll send like why I think it's worth that, and I'll send, this is why, because it's got dependency on one page for 25% of the traffic. That's a potential risk, or whatever the other risks that I see. I'll try and justify why the offer is. But at the moment, I'm buying sites for anything from 30 to 40x, like in that range, like typically just the typical range really. Some lower than others, but also it doesn't just come down to the multiple. Sometimes I bought another site recently which was fast growing website, and the person needed to access cash quite quickly. So I got it over the average revenue over a longer period of time. So the average didn't really reflect the true average. So I still paid like a 35x multiple, but the average was lower. And if it continues on its growth rate, then in 6 months' time, it's going to be worth quite a bit more. So it's just not always about the multiple.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then there's levers on the multiple. You push the levers by moving quicker and all those kinds of things. I can close quicker, due diligence quicker stuff.
Yeah. Cool. So we've got 25 likes. It's giveaway time. So I just real quick. We don't sell consulting for sites, at least not yet, but we've got different plans throughout the year, and there might be something. It's still early stages. There might never be anything, but we've got early thoughts about some things in that space. So I guess watch the space. You'll find out here if and when we do. Right, I'm going to go. Right, if anybody wants some merch or is interested in getting in the draw with the merch, speak now in the chat. Because that's the way YouTube works. If you don't comment in the next 2 minutes, you won't be in the draw. So even if you've commented already, comment again, say anything, and then we'll get you in the draw. In the meantime, Adam,
I've looked it up, and it's definitely sold, and someone has bought it and redirected it into another website. Interestingly enough, so I will check that website. Have a look.
Are you able to share it? I mean,
I don't know. Should we? I don't know.
It's just another website on the web right at this stage. But unless it depends if you want to keep keyboard. Well, yeah, that's up to you.
Can I? I'll take a screenshot and then I'll share the screenshot so keep out the URL. Okay.
Yeah, do that.
So this site, since the redirect, has definitely seen some growth, I think. Share my screen.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah. So I think we can clearly see. I probably should have zoomed in a bit more, but I imagine 2022. Yeah, it was I imagine this big jump up here is probably the redirecting. What date was it that I was looking at this? Was it doesn't tell me in Investors Club there. I don't know, but it was kind of mid 2021, I guess, towards the end of 2021 probably. So this is 2022, which is probably around this area, I guess, I imagine, and that's where the growth has come from. Yeah. The site was getting about 70 to 80,000 visitors a month, looking at the Investors Club listing. So that kind of makes sense that it went from 100 to close to 200 during that time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Interesting that they've done that. Probably now that I've seen that, I've piqued my interest to go back and have a look to see what they did. Did they move it all over? Did they make an acquisition page? How do they handle that transition and redirect and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So Keith, yeah, sorry, we didn't mention that. We normally mention it. Well, right now it's a cap, it's a t-shirt or a mug. Like you can take your pick. I promise by next week I will have some screenshots or I'll have examples to share. Well, yeah, not in person because we haven't even got them ourselves yet. So like I said yesterday, might be crap, but it might be great. So
don't say that. It's the same provider that Alex uses, and his is top quality. So
it should be good. It should be good. But we should really get some of our own so we can actually see it in the flesh. But yeah, there's mug, cap, or t-shirt is the options at the moment. So, right, are we ready? Feeling ready? Wheel of names. Okay, here we go. Oh, hang on, I've got to do the music, haven't I? This is what Alex told me. If you want to be a professional streamer, you've got to add the music in.
Music.
Hang on.
Don't have the porno music back in though. Whatever you do.
Did we go? I can't remember which we went for. Hip hop. Let's go hip hop. No, that isn't hip hop. There you go. It's the music. All right, we go. Spin the wheel.
Tiffany. Tiffany works for us. Tiffany can have one, but remove and do another spin, I think. Let's do another one.
Okay, do another spin. Well done, Tiffany. Tiffany recently joined us about a month.
Marketing manager, yeah.
He's the marketing manager, so you may or may not have spoken to her. Adrian. Well done, Adrian.
Don't forget the drum roll, Adrian. Yes, you are the winner, my friends.
So, yeah, get in touch with us on the through the Niche Website Builders website. So nichewebsite.builders. Go to the contact form or to the chat on there to claim your merch. And then once you get it, take a photo and send it to us, and we'll share it on our social media. That's it. I think we're good. Adam, you've got a call in 3 minutes, so we need to make it quick today. But yeah, thanks everybody again for joining. I think lots of good interaction again. So thanks for all the questions. Really kind of makes for the show.
Don't next week, join on Tuesday. Yeah, next week.
Yeah. So yeah, next week again, same 3 days: Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Tuesday is the Age Domain Tuesdays, and we will cover a topic and we will cover a domain like we did before, and we'll also look at a domain which we've tracked, a bit like the one we just did a minute ago. We tracked and see what people have done to it, and there's some pretty funny ones. So we're going to track, show you what happened to a domain that we didn't win at auction. Then on Wednesday, it's the Niche Lifestyle Show with Doug Cunnington and Alex Cooper from WP Eagle. This time it's on the WP Eagle channel. So check the show notes here for all 3 of our channels to make sure you don't miss one of the shows, because we rotate that show on our 3 channels. And then same place here, same time next week for the website investing show. Of which we're going to cover part 2 of this, which is building sites.
Yeah, which is your domain.
Yeah, so I'll be doing more of the talking there. So if you feel free to join our Facebook groups, are also in the show notes here if you're not already, and they'll prompt you for any new shows. Subscribe to the channel, of course, to do that also, and also jump on our mailing list as well. If you like, you can do that on our website, which will also get an email, so you can get hit from all different places to make sure you don't miss any of the streams going forward. Thanks again, everyone, for joining, and we'll catch you next week.
Cheers, guys.